Okay, it looks like we're good. I'm just going to double check Facebook. We are good there too. Awesome. Okay. Oops. All right. Well, good morning. I will go ahead and get started here and give a chance for some people to join us. So good morning, everybody. Welcome to another City Updates live broadcast. I'm Jamie Chavez, your host with the Westminster Chamber of Commerce, and we're thrilled to have you with us today. As always, we're here to bring you the latest insights from City Hall, featuring conversations with our councilors, mayor pro tem, and other city leaders. And it is your backstage pass to what's happening in Westminster. If this is your first time joining us, thank you so much for being here. Special welcome to you. If you're on Facebook, you can like and follow our page, and then you'll receive notifications for when we go live in the future. And if you're on YouTube, you can hit subscribe and then also explore all of our previous broadcasts there as well. There are many. Mondays on the broadcast are all about our city updates. And on Wednesdays, I offer a chance to meet with some of the newest members of the chamber and learn about their businesses or organizations. So I encourage you to join us for those broadcasts as well. And then on the last Friday of the month, we reserve that day for county updates, and featuring this month for the first time, newly elected Jeffco County Commissioner Rachel Zenzinger. So super excited to welcome her to the broadcast. And so stay tuned for broader county matters on the last Friday of the month. As you watch the broadcast this morning, please feel free to engage with us, ask any questions, any comments. Feel free to put those in the comment section or just say hello, and we will get to those during the interview. And now a warm welcome to Councilor Christine Ireland. How are you doing today?
Great. Thanks for having me. Happy New Year to everyone.
Yes, Happy New Year. That's great. How were your holidays?
Oh, they were great. I kind of mentioned to you before we got online that I learned I have 3 grandchildren on the way this year, so can't complain.
Yeah, that's super exciting. So you said you've got you'll have 14 total? Is
that 14 total.
Yeah, so that's amazing.
It's quite a blessing, yes, all of them.
Yeah, my parents, I'm pretty sure that they like being grandparents more than they ever liked being parents. And so
for sure, that's the gift for being a parent.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Well, and yeah, as you mentioned, Happy New Year. Thank you for everybody who's joined us. Dave, good morning. Parker, good morning. And we've got a bunch of other people on too, so we can go ahead and just get started. We've got Brian Head joining us as well. Good morning. Why don't we go ahead and just start with an update on what's going on at City Hall and what we can expect coming up and in the new year. What updates do you have for us?
Well, we're already working on the 2025 budget. And I'm one that wants to focus on core services. And we're also working on the PLR plan. Now, I don't think it'll be completed till the end of the year, but we're going to have a lot of input from the citizens. We already had a survey, but we're going to also have more input before we finalize that. So.
And for anyone that maybe doesn't know what that is, what does that plan?
Parks, libraries, and recreation.
Got it. So what kind of things might we expect out of that?
Well, it seems looking at people's priorities, of course, open space is always a priority. The north area, I've had quite a few emails of complaints that there's no rec center in the north area. So we're going to have to look at that. We're hoping maybe we can get Broomfield to share their rec center until we, for those that have the Broomfield zip code, I'm hoping that we can make some progress there, and maybe Broomfield citizens that have our zip code can use ours, because there really isn't anything in the north area besides Lifetime, which is really expensive. So hopefully we can make some headway there. I know that there's people in our city that want more tennis courts, more pickleball. Of course, disc golf has been a big thing that we looked at to bring it back, and we've all gone out and had a field trip. And I feel like we can bring it back, not to exact location, but close. And so That's something we'll be working on bringing back as soon as we can.
Yeah.
Of course, the libraries having a survey and plan for that. The libraries we've found aren't being used as much as some other libraries in other cities. So, of course, I have looked about privatizing libraries because that is a push in other cities to save costs and also to advance technology. It's because sometimes government gets stuck in a rut and they're not as technologically savvy as some private industry. So I'd like to look at that too.
Are there any in the area that people might be familiar with that have done that?
Well, I know for certain that Huntington Beach, California is doing it right now. That's where my sister lives. That's where I kind of learned about it. So,
got it. Okay.
And I want to follow up with them because I'm going to call their city councilors and see how that's going and learn more about it. So that's one of my to-do lists for the new year. See what.
Yeah. So do you have other priorities for 2025?
Just keeping spending under control because I feel like the more we spend, the more we tax. So that's a big issue for all levels of government in our state. Talking to Shannon Bird, which actually I have a meeting with her tomorrow. Our state is almost $1 billion in debt. So there's going to have to be some major cuts in some areas. So I want to talk to her about how that affects our city and so forth. So, and we have some crime issues in some of our parts of our city, and I want to talk to her about that too. And I feel like 9 out of 10 of the crimes committed are drug related. So I think we need some tougher laws on drugs, to tell you the truth, because there's some businesses really hurting from crime and drug trafficking in front of their businesses in our city. So
you have been a counselor for over a year now, something like 14 months or something, maybe.
Yeah, it's actually flown by. I'm surprised.
Yeah. So congratulations on that. That's a big milestone. Do you have any council decisions that you felt were especially impactful for the community, or any that just that you thought were really important?
Well, we know the Westminster Hills off-leash dog park was a big deal. And I think it was a 5-2 vote to keep it off leash. And the guardians of the dog park out there have done an amazing job of getting contributions from businesses and lots of people to volunteer. And they pretty much have taken over running it and taking care of it without taxpayer money, which is really a plus for all of us. Of course, I'm not one to rubber stamp all the projects in our city. Sometimes it's a 6-1 vote. I just think that we need to rein in some of the spending and focus on the priorities of streets, fire, police, the things that, make our city safer. And that's my priorities.
Dave has a question that's actually related to what you're saying. So the failure of the fire department measure and the needs identified there, should we be looking to the city general fund to partially fund some or most urgent improvements? And I've talked to a few people about this and just kind of wondering what your thoughts are. That's a good question, Dave. I'll put it back up here in a second. And what you think the next steps are there.
So our fire department, it's a highly rated fire department. I do think the more that we approve more of these high density housing projects, the more fire department money we will need, because when you increase your population, you increase the needs for more fire, more police, more water. And so I definitely want to look at those priorities and see where in our budget we're wasting money, and we can, put the money towards our priorities instead of some of the things that aren't as important. I believe every department should prioritize, and then from there we prioritize those items. So every department should probably have a number one, and then we can take those number ones and prioritize those. So we're not having every department asking for something that may not be as important as other things.
Yeah, I understand that. And then kind of back to, you talked about the dog park and the folks that did a lot of work there. Are there other groups or individuals in the community that have inspired or influenced your work as a counselor?
Well, I do believe those that came forward about the plutonium radiation issues over at the Rocky Flats Arsenal. I think that's important that the city and the people know the history there, because I've lived here since '86. So back in the day, that was a big headline in the news all the time about the plutonium there, and you don't get rid of that for over 200 years. So for us just to bury it basically was a concern of mine. So I do give a shout out to those who care about people's health and don't want to just hide what happened there. So that's another that I, was inspired by, that they cared enough to bring it to light. And I am proud that our city council listened to them. And we actually had a forum where we listened to both sides. And I think that's how good decisions are made, to hear both sides on anything that's really important to people, that there's both sides and we don't just listen to one side.
Yeah, I've talked to some of the other counselors about this. I know that those meetings get really long and you've got a lot of people coming in to do public comment. And so it can be a really long night, but it's also really good to see so many people invested enough to do that, to come in and spend their Monday night sitting in a room full of people that they maybe have common interests with or not, but are willing to come in and voice their opinions and ask for what they believe in. And so I think that's really great that we've got so much of that in the community.
I appreciate that too. I appreciate the citizens that come out and speak and sometimes educate me about things I would not be aware of if they didn't come out and speak. And I'm there for them. I'm willing to spend the hours to be there. So that's why I'm here. That's why I ran for office, to listen to the people. So if it takes 3 or 4 hours of my time on Monday night or more, I'm willing to listen. So that's why I'm there.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you for that. What's one thing that you wish that residents understood a little bit more about the work that City Council does?
Well, I have to say, as a city councilor and never have ran for public office before, it can be a grind at times, and trying to keep everyone happy is an impossibility. You have to, sometimes you're not going to make some people happy, and you just got to do what you think is right and weigh weigh the sides, like I have been talking about, because you can't please everyone, and so I try to do what I think is best for the majority of the people in our city. And I think people take for granted sometimes how hard some of these decisions are.
Yeah, definitely. Well, one thing that I've noticed is that you attend so many of the events that are put on either by the city or, other groups in the city, chamber events and nonprofits, and you're at so many things. And so I really appreciate that you make so much effort to be around and to get to know people and hear people. What is like a typical day like for a counselor here in Westminster? How do you juggle your role with all of your other responsibilities?
Well, it's just like I talk about priorities. Christmas time, I had a lot of things that I attended, and
yeah,
I had to take a step
going on in the month of December.
sometimes you have to take a step back and realize you got to do some stuff for you and your family too. You can't do it all, but I try to go to as many things as I can. Like I look throughout my week, and at least try to go to three or four things a week if that's what's scheduled. I mean, that's what I'm here for. I'm here to hear the people, meet the people, learn what the people want. If you don't know them, if you're not listening, if you're not there for them, you're not going to know what they really want.
Yeah. And what's one thing maybe that surprised you or challenged you in the last year that you didn't expect?
The lack of sleep. I'll tell you, I have a hard time sleeping before a city council meeting. And after I get home, I'm so, wound up. I can't sleep. Sure. So the sleeping part of it, I had no clue.
Yeah, I think I can relate to that. There's probably some other people that can relate to that for sure.
Because, I try to read up and gain as much information as I can on whatever we're studying. And it's better if you do it early so you can think about it. But the more you think about it, the less you sleep. So,
yeah.
And I see Nancy email in the middle of the night. So
yes.
She's not sleeping either.
I think Nancy might be a robot.
And she was so sick too, and she's still emailing and making dog biscuits and whatever else she does. And she just amazes me. Honestly.
She's pretty incredible.
She's like the Energizer Bunny. She needs to sell that energy to all of us. Anyway.
Bottle it up and sell it. Yeah. Yes. Yeah, I will pay for that.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely. Oh gosh, I had another question that was related to that and I got distracted because anyway, I'll come back to it, I'm sure. Oh no, I remember. Okay. So you were talking about, trying to figure out ahead of time, whatever the topic is going to be or whatever you're working on. How do you do that? Because when you run for council and then you're elected, and this is true with any, I think, politician, is at that point, you're expected to be a subject matter expert on everything, which just isn't the case. And so how do you go about making these decisions and learning more about all of these issues, on a day-to-day basis even?
So I've been given a lot of paperwork, I'll tell you that. Stack, Yeah. I try to study things out from things in the past, looking at numbers from the past, analyzing numbers from our budget and what we're spending our money on, what could we better spend our money on. But I like to be well educated about it. And I feel like I've always been politically involved and always abreast of what's new. I always look at ways to solve problems that are new. Sometimes there's technology that will solve problems that we aren't even aware of. I try to keep up on that. I read a lot about new technology as far as road construction. Of course, there's things like, what do elderly people really want in housing? I don't feel like we're building what they want. Reading up just lately, a lot of people want downsize because these apartments are too small. They want to have room for family to visit. So they're more like wanting a 3-bedroom instead of a 1 or 2-bedroom. And they want outside space so they can garden or stuff. Because, I think outdoor space is important to your psyche. So I don't feel like we're delivering maybe what people really want. So I like to look at, what is driving people's decisions, what they really want, and are we providing that?
Yeah, that's interesting. And do you think that it changes generationally too? That people in that age bracket want something different maybe than people 20 years ago in that age bracket?
Probably so, somewhat, but I think when people actually get married and have a family, they want some more space. They want some outdoor space. And so we can't just cater everything to one generation because we got to think about the next generation
Right.
instead of, so that's a balance that's hard to, because right now there are so many people retiring, but once they're gone, then we'll have too much housing of a certain kind. And they say by 2030, we'll have too many like big houses available. So I know that people are waiting for those, and it's hard because families are having a hard time finding homes because a lot of those that are in retirement age, I'm reading some of the tax laws are hard because, especially in Colorado, our house values have gone up so much that a $500,000 write-off for taxes is not covering people downsizing. Like they don't want to downsize and pay the tax because it's less expensive to stay in their big house than move to something smaller. So I think taxes are a problem. There's all kinds of things to look at why people don't want to leave their bigger house and sell it to the younger generation that has a family that needs one. So we need to tackle some of those issues, even maybe not just at a city level, but nationally and statewide. So
Yeah. So Dave says, as a single person with a dog, I'd be willing to downsize, but I need a yard for the dog, and I couldn't purchase anywhere near what I have for a yard. And my house isn't that big to begin with. So,
well, there you go. There's a certain thing he wants too.
yeah.
People they have pets. They want a yard. They want space. So I don't know that we're providing that very well.
Yeah, it's certainly the way that we build houses definitely kind of ebbs and flows and changes all the time. I know my yard is pretty small. So a lot of the times with my kids, I'll end up taking them to the park instead of just outside. So yeah.
But that is so hard as a parent too, because sometimes when you're doing things, you want your kids to go out in the yard and play, and you don't want to have to take them to the park because at that moment you have to work from home or whatever you're doing, and you can't take them to the park all the time. So
yeah, there's been a lot of that the last couple of weeks with the kids home. Yeah, definitely. So, and especially with the cold weather too, that's been a challenge. Have a couple kids stuck inside for 2 weeks straight.
Yeah, it's hard.
So yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so let's shift gears a little bit. So you said you've been in Westminster since '86, right? That's what you said?
Yes.
Okay. So you are very familiar with Westminster.
Right.
If you had to describe it in 3 words to somebody that had never been here, what would you say, and why would those be? Why would you use those words?
3 words. That's hard. Should have gave me a heads up on this. Friendly. Beautiful.
Definitely.
And I would say it's almost complete. Like we don't have much space left to build, so we have to be really particular about the last land that we have, I believe.
Yeah, I'd agree with all that. I think I've been in Westminster going on 6 years, and it's definitely a friendly place to be. I haven't had very many negative interactions here. Most people are super welcoming. Sometimes there's places where newcomers are sort of not welcome or shunned or made fun of, and I don't feel that way about Westminster. I think that it's a great community, and it's gorgeous. I mean, you're right about that. We have such great open space and views, and
the weather in Colorado, I have to say, that's why I've never left, because I grew up in Nebraska. The weather is not quite so wonderful. So I have to say, people think the weather in Colorado is cold and miserable, but it's pretty great.
Yeah, there's cold spells, but we have like 60-degree days in the middle of winter all the time. So
then we have mountain views and relatively, like, most cities in the South, Midwest, there's lots of bugs too. We don't have much of that either.
I was just gonna say that we have we don't have the weird deadly spiders or snakes or just like creepy crawly things. I mean, I think the worst spider we have here is like a black widow or a brown recluse, and they're pretty rare. Especially the brown recluse up here is like really rare. And there's like rattlesnakes.
I've never seen a rattlesnake since I've lived here, so.
I think I heard one once, but I didn't see it.
And I've been here a while, so I have never.
Yeah.
I've seen black widows, actually. My husband got bit by one, so you do have to be careful of those a bit.
Yeah, I had some in a window well once. Took care of those, but
it's another thing like the South and the snakes and alligators, and so.
Yeah.
And honestly, when you go to the East or the Midwest, the cold is way colder when it's humid cold. And dry cold is not as cold, so that's
right. It really isn't. It's not so bad. I've been doing a lot of walks out in the cold.
Always sunny, pretty much, too.
Yeah.
You've seen rattlesnakes at Westy Hills Dog Park. Well, that's probably where they would most likely want to be.
Yeah. Yeah, and then we don't have crazy things like earthquakes and hurricanes, and once in a while there's a tornado. We do have to worry about the fires, but yeah, Colorado's great and Westminster's great. So I agree with all of those descriptions. We
are pretty blessed here, that's for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Well, we have a couple minutes left. Is there anything else that you want to share from City Council or personally or otherwise?
Well, I think it's going to be an eventful year for me with 3 babies being born, and all my children are married now, so they all live in different places. So that's kind of fun for my husband and I. I have a daughter in Washington State, one in Texas, a son in Utah, and daughter in Arizona, and a son in Ireland. So
yeah. So you probably travel a lot.
Family and city council is a challenge, but I love them both. So I will prioritize and try to manage all that. Yeah. Anyway.
Well, I'll reiterate that I appreciate how much you're able to attend and how much you get out there to meet people and just be around to see and hear what people are saying. So thank you for that.
I have to say that I've been pretty blessed with good health. So I'm thankful for that. That helps me get out and meet people. So
yeah, definitely. Awesome. All right. Well, thank you again for coming on the broadcast, and we'll talk to you again in a few months. And if for anybody that would like to reach out to you, what's the best way?
I have my personal email, which they can reach out to me, or my city council email, but my personal email is christinejuddireland@gmail.com.
All right, I'm going to try to put that in the chat so people can, Christine Judd, Judd, Ireland @gmail.com.
Right.
Okay, got it. Awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much. And thanks for everybody that joined us today.
Have a good one.
Yeah, you too.
Thanks.
All right. Bye, everybody.